Tonight, the high-stakes peace plan to end the war in Gaza. What's in the terms accepted by Israel and the ultimatum to Hamas?
Israel would have my full backing to finish the job.
This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way.
What Canada's Prime Minister is saying about the proposed deal. Plus, what we know about this alleged confrontation between a U.S. customs officer and a Canadian tourist. And renewing the same tariff script.
If U.S. production disappears, that's going to leave a big hole.
How Donald Trump's blockbuster threat could crush Hollywood North.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. A new proposal to end the war in Gaza is on the table. Donald Trump revealing the plan at the White House today after meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister. Late tonight, Canada's Prime Minister said Canada welcomes President Trump's historic new Middle East peace plan, and we urge all parties to help it realize its full potential. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin leads us off tonight.
They were all smiles, confident this could be the peace plan that ends the 2-year war in Gaza and brings the hostages home.
So this is a big day, a beautiful day.
President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu agreed to a 20-point peace plan.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims.
For Hamas, it's a take-it-or-leave-it deal. Hamas would have to give up its guns and have no role in governing Gaza. A committee of Palestinians and experts would be in charge, overseen by a Council of Peace, headed by Trump, that would redevelop Gaza. And former British Prime Minister Tony Blair would play a key role.
If Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
In exchange, Israel would withdraw from Gaza, but not completely. And within 72 hours of a ceasefire, all 20 living hostages and the remains of the dead would be released. Relatives of the hostages hopeful their nightmare could finally end.
Finally, we have a deal to end the war, the bloody war in Gaza.
The plan is a tough sell for Netanyahu, falling short of total victory and destruction of Hamas. Under the plan, members would receive amnesty once the hostages are freed.
But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way. But it will be done.
In Gaza, where destruction and death happens every day, an end to the fighting can't come soon enough. Several Arab leaders are welcoming the Trump peace plan, and tonight, Hamas negotiators say they will review the proposal in good faith. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it has launched a review after one of its officers was allegedly caught on video telling this to a driver with Ontario plates. The video was shot by the driver, who says the man behind the wheel of the American vehicle honked, sped up, and switched to the right lane to address them. It's unclear what, if anything, triggered that sequence of events. It all happened near the Lewiston Bridge port of entry in upstate New York. New details tonight about the man accused of fatally shooting a Canadian in Wisconsin. CTV's John Vanavalley-Rao on what surveillance video is revealing.
You have the right to adjourn. The accused made a video appearance in a Wisconsin courthouse. 35-year-old Luis Cruz Burgos read his rights using a Spanish interpreter and charged with first-degree reckless homicide in the death of Mike Robinson, who grew up in Stouffville, Ontario, and who'd been on a golfing trip with friends and family when things went horribly wrong. A murder that stunned locals.
I'm shocked. I don't even really know what to say.
This was Robinson last week, celebrating a hole-in-one. Afterwards, he and 3 other men went to celebrate at a bar in Sheboygan, which is north of Milwaukee. A criminal complaint lays out how Robinson and the others tried to get an Uber back to their hotel at around midnight, and failing that, approached Cruz Burgos, a DoorDash driver, for 9 months, and tried to negotiate paying him for a lift. Police obtained surveillance picking up the sound of their interaction. One man said he wasn't going to give the driver $40 per 5 minutes of work, and they walked away. Another man said Cruz Burgos drove off, but then doubled back. That's when he heard a pop and Robinson say, "I'm dying." The 32-year-old passed away from a single gunshot wound to the chest. His wife gave birth to a baby girl just 6 weeks ago. Video shows the arrest of Cruz Burgos on Friday.
That charge has not been proven yet.
In the criminal complaint, he claims the men called him stupid and that one of them flipped him off, and he says he didn't shoot anyone. If convicted, Cruz Burgos could face up to 60 years in prison. Meanwhile, a GoFundMe has been set up to support Robinson's family, which has so far raised almost $250,000. John Vanavelli-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
Canada has designated the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity. Founded by Lawrence Bishnoi, who has been imprisoned in India since 2014, the gang is a criminal enterprise from northern India that has also spread to North America. The RCMP has accused India of using the gang to target members of the Sikh separatist movement on Canadian soil, claims India has denied. The designation allows authorities to seize property and freeze accounts, but the Sikh Federation called it an insufficient step, and at least one former BC police chief agrees.
Right now, the phenomenon is controlled by local thugs who have no association whatsoever to Lawrence Bishnoi and his group back in India. This is absolutely ridiculous if they think they are going to make a difference in this crime.
In other news, U.S. President Donald Trump is renewing his threat to slap a 100% tariff on all foreign-made films. CTV's Josh Morano now on what it could mean for Canada.
I know this is a small town, but it's not that small.
This is Unlocking Christmas, one of the many movies filmed in the capital region, which has become a popular destination for film production.
I bet you didn't need any help with it at all.
U.S. President Donald Trump now doubling down, threatening to impose a 100% tariff on movies filmed outside the U.S. in a post on Truth Social.
A Trump tweet like this generates uncertainty, and that's just as bad in a way because it makes people reticent to invest.
The Ottawa film industry estimates $120 million flows into the local economy each year from film and television production, much of it tied to U.S. co-productions.
Of the $8 billion or so of production that goes on in Canada, about $4.8 billion of it is U.S. sourced production. So if U.S. production disappears, that's going to leave a big hole in the industry right across the country and throughout the world.
They've been talking about tariffs on goods and services from Canada. Well, it's just as important in the cultural atmosphere that we control what we do. And right now, that's not the case. I'm not saying it's bad for our business, but it's not a secure way to work.
This is a movie scene in picturesque Almont, west of Ottawa. Almont has built a reputation as the Christmas movie capital of Canada.
There's certainly a message from the location managers and the production companies that we work with, and there's a very consistent message that work is carrying on. It's too early to react just yet.
Industry advocates warn that fewer American collaborators could mean fewer Canadian stories reaching U.S. audiences, potentially slowing the growth the sector has seen in recent years.
I think that this particular situation shows that pretty starkly, so that if the money from the United States dries up, I don't believe that's going to happen, but what's going to happen to all of that business in Canada?
Josh Morano, CTV News.
And what is a threat for the movie industry is reality for Canada's steel industry. Battered by tariffs, as CTV's Rachel Aiello reports, today it got a critical financial lifeline.
Critical steel made here at home by Canadians.
This Ontario steel plant is being lent $500 million.
It gives us the liquidity to pivot our business towards the future of Canada.
The bulk of the financial support, $400 million, is coming from the federal government. It's the first loan to be made from a program Ottawa launched in March to help Canadian companies affected by Trump's tariffs. That money and the other $100 million the Ontario government is lending is to help Algoma Steel find new markets, invest in new technology, and make new products.
If we don't have Canadian-owned steel companies, then we are vulnerable to the whims of other countries, other markets, and we can't have that.
The United States' 50% metals tariffs have effectively closed off a key market for Canadian steelmakers. The sector seeing more than 1,000 jobs lost since the trade war started.
The prospect of more is growing every day.
Both levels of government say this support is an investment in Canadian industry.
We are fighting to protect a company that is truly a Canadian institution.
But the federal Conservatives questioned that characterization.
Mark Carney is repeating the same Liberal talking points of the last 10 years, claiming that when he borrows and spends, it is an investment.
Algoma is so far the only company of its kind to apply for this funding, but officials say they may not be the last. And its CEO estimated today it could take up to 2 years for Algoma's domestic pivot to fully materialize. Omar?
All right, Rachel, thank you. A Northern Ontario paper mill says federal aid is not coming fast enough, forcing it to close. Cap Paper in Kapuskasing says $50 million in loans from Ontario have helped it stay afloat short term, but it urgently needs more from Ottawa. About 420 people are employed directly through the mill, and another 2,500 in the region indirectly benefit. As many as 1,000 people could be out of work after Calgary-based Imperial Oil announced plans to slash about 20% of its workforce by the end of 2027. Last month, Imperial reported about $11 billion in revenue, down more than $2 billion from the same quarter a year earlier. And Alberta teachers have voted against the latest contract offer from the province, setting the stage for a province-wide strike 1 week from today. A multi-million-dollar agreement was reached today between Saskatchewan's government and the survivors of a boarding school. Former students say they faced similar atrocities to those in the residential school system, but were left out of previous settlements. Here's CTV's Alison Bamford.
On the eve of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, some closure for Isle Lacrosse school survivors.
These schools were a mistake, and they shouldn't have existed. And today, on behalf of the province of Saskatchewan, I apologize to you.
For decades, survivors fought to have their trauma validated.
The strap and the abuse were the main weapons: physical, mental, sexual.
Today, they put pen to paper, signing an agreement with the Saskatchewan government that will pay $40 million in compensation if approved by the courts.
I'm thankful that this day has finally arrived.
Melvina Aubuchon is one of about 1,500 students who attended the boarding school in Isle Lacrosse, roughly 460 kilometers north of Saskatoon.
And it was so lonely being left behind as a child.
The school operated from 1860 to the 1970s. It predated the federal residential school system and was left out of Indian residential school settlements. But survivors say the mandate was the same: assimilation.
I couldn't use my name. I had a number given to me. And where do you see numbers today? In prison.
Survivors signed a similar agreement with the federal government in March. They say the school caused 7 generations worth of harm, and now the community has to heal the next 7 generations. Today's announcement is just another step towards that. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Well, September is World Alzheimer's Month, and doctors are worried promising new drugs that potentially slow down the disease are not reaching everyone. Here's CTV's Heather Wright on why Canada is the only G7 country not making them accessible.
You can start to see these hot spots here.
About 3 years ago, Morley was diagnosed with mild Alzheimer's, almost by accident. He had fallen while skiing, and his wife Margot encouraged him to see a specialist.
It was serendipitous that they took a PET scan and found out that there's this amyloid in the brain.
With Alzheimer's, early detection and treatment are key, and Morley has been doing everything he can to keep his symptoms mild.
I'm not drinking, a healthy diet, exercise, sleep.
There are drugs that could help slow down the disease's progression. They are approved in 44 countries, including every member of the G7, except for Canada.
These new therapies bring new hope because they can actually modify what's going on within the brain.
Dr. Sarah Mitchell is a neurologist at Toronto's Sunnybrook Hospital and says it's difficult to explain to patients that treatments exist, just not here. And while these intravenous medications, lecanemab and donanemab, can't cure Alzheimer's, Mitchell says they are an important first step.
Those patients in these trials that receive these drugs had a slower rate of decline of about 30% compared to a control group.
These drugs are not without risk. They can cause fever, nausea, and in some cases, swelling of the brain, and they only work for mild Alzheimer's. Nick Lagasse's mother wouldn't qualify. She was diagnosed with the disease 5 years ago at 53 and now lives in assisted care. With a family history of the disease, though, he's hoping there will soon be advancements in treatment.
The weight of it all is that we know there's no treatment. There's nothing to treat Alzheimer's effectively. So essentially, it's a waiting game.
It's not clear why it has taken Health Canada more than 2 years to review and approve these medications. And while they won't comment on the status of medications that are under review, in a statement, Health Canada says they will only approve drugs if the benefits outweigh any potential risks. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up.
It's like a huge slap in the face. Like, how could it happen this way?
Why so many road safety charges are being dropped. As Ontario plans to remove automated speed cameras, serious concerns tonight with the province's ability to keep up with charges against alleged bad drivers. As W5's John Woodward reports, the number of failed prosecutions is skyrocketing, denying justice to many injured on the road.
It's really hard to breathe.
That's why Sabrine Chanda does these exercises every day, physiotherapy to recover from one of the worst moments of her life. She was riding her bicycle down College Street at University Avenue in Toronto a year ago.
All this pain comes down to basically one instant.
Yeah. Someone made a left turn and didn't look to see who was already in the bike lane.
How badly were you hurt?
It was really bad. I had so many facial fractures, like teeth and cheekbone and jaw, and the concussion, of course.
The driver was charged, but months later in court, the prosecution dropped the case.
I was just in complete shock.
Chanda, not the only one. Sarah Dermody was doored while riding on Queen Street in Toronto in 2023.
It knocked me over on my side, so I hit my hip and my shoulder and my head.
The driver was charged with dooring, but didn't get court disclosure.
And as a result, the ticket was dropped altogether.
What was your reaction hearing about that?
It's really upsetting.
It turns out drop charges against drivers are on the rise in Ontario. Court statistics show in 2019 about 57,000 Highway Traffic Act charges were withdrawn before trial. This year, that rose to more than 253,000, about 10% of all charges laid. W5 checked other provinces for a similar pattern, nothing like that in BC, Alberta, or Quebec. In March, a justice of the peace described Ontario's provincial offences prosecution as a system in shambles. It appears the prosecutor's office lacks an effective and proper file management system, saying it's a patchwork system that is held together by some baling wire and twine, with a hope and a prayer thrown in for good measure. Lawyer David Shelnut says faith in the system is at stake.
That small little sense of justice that they're hoping for vanishes.
One of the things that we noticed in the statistics is that this problem is getting worse.
What it tells us is that there isn't the correct focus on safe streets out there.
Meanwhile, Ontario plans to remove automated speed cameras. The province's transportation minister insisted rogue drivers are still going to be punished.
Ontario, one of the toughest jurisdictions, whether it's on stunt driving, whether it's on impaired driving, all of those offenses were increased in fines and penalties.
Those penalties never came in Chanda's case.
It's like a huge slap in the face. Like, how could it happen this way?
She worries dangerous drivers won't have any reason to change.
John Woodward, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead. What do you get when you mix a blue and a green jay, and where the new hybrid was discovered? Video game maker Electronic Arts is set to go private after being acquired for $55 billion US.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
A private equity firm from Saudi Arabia and an investment firm backed by Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will pay out the company's shareholders. EA is the creator of some of the industry's most popular video games, including Madden NFL and The Sims. And researchers in Texas say they have identified the first known wild hybrid between a blue jay and a green jay. It has the blue feathers and calls like a blue jay, but markings of a green jay. It's believed climate change caused the habitats of both species to overlap, making it easier for them to mate. And still ahead, why Blue Jays baseball fans believe this is the year. Canada has caught Toronto Blue Jays fever after a thrilling finale to a surprising season. Here's CTV's Sean Leathong on how far fans believe they can go in the playoffs.
A celebration a decade in the making. The Toronto Blue Jays are American League East champions.
It's a very fulfilling feeling because this group is so close. And, it's the first division title in a long time here, so I'm happy for every fan in the city.
Clinching the division at home on the last day of the season is a statement, but not an ending, according to Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Job is not finished, so we got to keep going and we got to keep winning.
Now that the champagne has dried up, there's a new phrase surrounding this team. We want it all, as fans continue to revel in the excitement.
Absolutely awesome. They deserved it. They worked hard and they ground all season long, got the finish they needed.
Inside the Jays shop, merchandise marking the division champs is going fast.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6 shirts and a hat. Bring back to the family, and we're all really excited about the postseason.
Divisional champs. My dad was wearing the one from 2015 last night, so I had to get him a new one.
Got to get it updated, eh?
Yeah.
Many of the fans in here were at yesterday's game, and they came from across Canada, like David and Jim Flather from Winnipeg, who attended their first ever home game.
Unbelievable. We show up for our first game and there's a grand slam. I mean, what are the odds?
And a drive to deep left field. Gone!
Alejandro Kirk's first inning grand slam would be all the Jays needed yesterday, bringing 42,000 fans to their feet. Two of those fans, 8-year-old Isaac and 11-year-old Alex Fairhurst from Calgary, have a positive outlook for the playoffs.
How far can they go?
Really far.
World Series?
Yep.
What do you think?
World Series as well.
Now the road to the World Series begins here on Saturday in the American League Divisional Series. The Blue Jays' opponent will either be their division rivals, the Boston Red Sox, or the New York Yankees. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
And last time they won the series was, of course, in '92 and '93. That's a snapshot of this Monday for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night, and see you tomorrow.